Among all the deities in the vast and complex Egyptian pantheon, few were as beloved by common people as Bastet, the goddess with the head of a cat whose divine protection extended not to kings and pharaohs alone but to every household. In Egypt, from the grandest palace to the humblest mud brick dwelling along the Nile, she was the goddess of home, fertility, childbirth, music, dance, and joy, embodying the warmth and comfort that made life worth living even in a harsh desert land where survival was never guaranteed. Bastet's origins reach back to the earliest dynasties of Egyptian civilization, though her nature and appearance evolved significantly over the thousands of years she was worshipped. In her earliest incarnations, Bastet was depicted as a fierce lioness, a solar warrior goddess closely associated with the sun's destructive heat and the protection of the pharaoh through violent means. During this period, she was virtually indistinguishable from Sekhmet, the terrifying lion goddess who nearly destroyed humanity in her rage, and the two goddesses shared many attributes and mythological stories. However, as Egyptian religion developed and evolved, particularly during the Middle and New Kingdoms, Bastet underwent a remarkable transformation that reflected changing cultural values and religious needs. The fierce lioness gradually softened into the domestic cat, and Bastet's character shifted from primarily warlike to predominantly nurturing and joyful. This transformation was not complete or absolute. Bastet always retained her lioness aspect and could become fierce when her protected people were threatened, but her primary manifestation became the graceful, elegant cat goddess known and loved throughout Egypt. If you're enjoying learning about Bastet and the fascinating ways ancient Egyptians viewed their gods, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Your support allows us to continue creating these deep explorations of mythology from cultures around the world, bringing ancient stories to life through careful research combined with modern storytelling techniques. We have many more Egyptian legends to share, along with myths from Greek, Norse, and other great civilizations. The timing of Bastet's transformation from lioness to cat coincided with the increasing domestication of cats in Egyptian society and the growing recognition of their practical value in protecting grain stores from mice and rats. As cats became more common in Egyptian homes, people observed their unique qualities, their grace and independence, their fierce protection of their territory and young, their capacity for both playful affection and lethal hunting prowess. In the cat, Egyptians saw a perfect symbol of the balance between gentleness and strength that they valued in their ideal of divine protection. Cats in ancient Egypt were not merely pets but sacred animals, living manifestations of Bastet's divine presence in the mortal world. To harm a cat, even accidentally, was considered a serious crime that could result in severe punishment. And the Greek historian Herodotus recorded that Egyptians would risk their own lives to save cats from burning buildings. When a beloved household cat died, family members would shave their eyebrows in mourning, and the cat would be mummified with the same care given to human dead, then buried in special cat cemeteries with offerings of mummified mice to sustain it in the afterlife. The city of Bubastis in the Nile Delta became the primary cult center for Bastet worship, and archaeological excavations there have revealed a massive temple complex dedicated to the goddess, along with enormous cemeteries containing hundreds of thousands of mummified cats brought as offerings by pilgrims from all over Egypt. The temple of Bastet at Bubastis was described by ancient writers as one of the most beautiful in all of Egypt, surrounded by canals that formed an island sanctuary, with walls covered in reliefs showing the goddess in her various forms and aspects. The annual Festival of Bastet at Bubastis was one of the most popular and well-attended religious celebrations in ancient Egypt, drawing pilgrims by the hundreds of thousands who would travel by boat up the Nile to participate in the joyous festivities. Herodotus, who witnessed the festival during his travels in Egypt, described it as a massive celebration filled with music, dancing, drinking, and uninhibited revelry that was unlike the more solemn religious festivals he had encountered elsewhere. The festival honored Bastet's associations with joy, fertility, and the celebration of life itself. During the festival, priests would carry a statue of Bastet through the crowded streets, while musicians played the sistrum, the sacred rattle, particularly associated with the goddess, along with drums, flutes, and other instruments. The sound of the sistrum was believed to please Bastet and drive away evil spirits, and women would shake these instruments while singing hymns praising the goddess. The festivities continued day and night, with temporary markets, performances, feasting, and ritual offerings of wine poured out in libation to the goddess. The theological significance of Bastet extended beyond simple protection and joy into deeper cosmological and mythological frameworks. As the daughter of Ra, the sun god, Bastet represented the gentle, nurturing aspect of solar power, the warmth that makes crops grow and life flourish, in contrast to her fiercer aspects that manifested as scorching, destructive heat. In this role, she complemented and balanced other solar deities, creating a complete picture of the sun's various influences on Egyptian life and civilization. One of the most important myths involving Bastet concerns her role as the Eye of Ra, a divine entity that could be sent forth from the sun god to defend cosmic order and destroy enemies of the gods. In this capacity, Bastet shared duties with several other goddesses, including Sekhmet, Hathor, and Tefnut, all of whom could manifest as the fierce protector of divine authority when circumstances demanded. The myth tells how Ra would send the eye forth when his authority was challenged or when evil threatened to disrupt the fundamental cosmic order. In one version of this myth, Bastet, as the Eye of Ra, became enraged and fled to Nubia in the form of a fierce lioness, threatening to remain there in exile and deprive Egypt of her protective presence. The gods became concerned and sent Thoth, the wise god of knowledge, to convince Bastet to return to Egypt. Thoth approached the angry goddess carefully and began telling her stories and entertaining her with his wit and wisdom, gradually calming her fury and reminding her of her love for the Egyptian people and the land of the Nile. As Thoth's stories and persuasion worked their effect, Bastet began to transform, her fierce lioness form gradually shifting into the more gentle domestic cat appearance. Her rage cooled, her destructive impulses gave way to protective and nurturing feelings, and she agreed to return to Egypt, where she was greeted with joy and celebration. This myth explained both Bastet's dual nature, fierce protector and gentle nurturer, and the annual flooding of the Nile that brought fertility to Egypt's fields. As Bastet's return coincided with the life-giving inundation, Bastet's association with fertility and childbirth made her particularly important to Egyptian women, who would pray to the goddess for help in conceiving children, for protection during pregnancy and labor, and for the health and safety of their infants and young children. Amulets depicting Bastet, often showing the goddess surrounded by kittens representing her role as divine mother, were extremely popular and have been found in homes and tombs throughout Egypt. These amulets were believed to channel Bastet's protective power directly to the wearer. The goddess was also intimately connected with music, dance, and all forms of joyful celebration that made Egyptian life more than mere survival. Bastet presided over festivals and parties, blessing those who gathered to enjoy music and companionship. Musicians and dancers considered her their patron deity, and her sistrum became the symbol of sacred music that could please the gods and drive away negative forces. In Egyptian theology, joy and celebration were not frivolous distractions but essential components of maintaining and keeping chaos at bay. Bastet's gentle nature should not be mistaken for weakness, and the Egyptians never forgot that the domestic cat was a skilled and deadly hunter when necessary. The goddess could transform back into her lioness form when threats arose, and numerous texts and images show Bastet in her fierce aspect destroying the enemies of Egypt and the enemies of cosmic order. This duality made her an especially complete deity, embodying the full spectrum of protective power from gentle watchfulness to violent defense. The symbolism of the cat itself carried deep meaning in Egyptian thought. Cats were observed to be primarily nocturnal hunters with eyes that seemed to glow in darkness, leading to associations with the moon and with the ability to see and navigate through the dangerous hours of night when evil spirits were thought to be most active. A cat's ability to see what humans could not, to detect threats invisible to mortal eyes, made them perfect symbols of divine protection that extended beyond the visible world into spiritual realms. Moreover, a cat's renowned ability to always land on their feet when falling, their apparent 9 lives and ability to survive dangers that would kill other creatures, made them symbols of resilience, rebirth, and the triumph of life over death. Bastet, through her association with cats, came to represent the life force itself, the fundamental drive toward survival, reproduction, and continuation that ensures the persistence of all living things despite the constant presence of danger and death. In Egyptian homes, actual cats were welcomed and cherished not merely for their practical rodent hunting abilities but as living channels of Bastet's divine blessing. A cat sleeping peacefully in a home was a sign that Bastet was present in protecting that household, that the goddess found the home worthy of her attention and care. Families would leave offerings of food and milk for both their household cats and for the goddess herself, understanding that caring for cats was a form of worship that pleased Bastet. The medical and magical papyri of ancient Egypt contain numerous spells and remedies that invoke Bastet's name for healing and protection, particularly for women's health issues and children's ailments. Doctors and midwives would call upon the goddess when treating patients, asking her to lend her protective power to their medicines and procedures. The connection between Bastet and healing reflected the Egyptian understanding that true health required not just physical treatment but also spiritual protection from the malevolent forces that could cause disease. Bastet's temples served as more than just places of worship. They were also centers of healing where sick Egyptians could come to sleep in special chambers, hoping to receive healing dreams or visions from the goddess. Priests of Bastet would interpret these dreams and prescribe treatments based on divine guidance, combining religious ritual with practical medicine in ways that modern scholars are still working to fully understand. The temple complexes included areas for raising and caring for sacred cats, breeding facilities to ensure a constant supply of cats for mummification as offerings. The popularity of Bastet worship spread beyond Egypt's borders during the Ptolemaic period when Greek rulers governed Egypt and Egyptian religion interacted with Greek religious traditions. The Greeks identified Bastet with their own goddess, Artemis, recognizing similarities in their associations with fertility, protection, and the moon. This cultural exchange led to hybrid religious practices and the spread of cat reverence into Greek and eventually Roman territories, though the worship never achieved the intensity it had in Egypt itself. Archaeological evidence suggests that the worship of Bastet reached its peak during the late period and Ptolemaic era, roughly from 664 BCE to 30 BCE, when massive numbers of cat mummies were produced and dedicated at Bubastis and other temple sites. Modern excavations have uncovered literally millions of mummified cats, a staggering number that testifies to both the economic importance of the cult and the deep devotion ordinary Egyptians felt toward the goddess. However, analysis has revealed that many of these mummies were kittens, raising ethical questions about ancient breeding practices specifically to produce offerings. The decline of Bastet worship came with the rise of Christianity in Egypt and the official suppression of pagan religions by Roman authorities in the 4th and 5th centuries CE. Temples were closed or converted to churches, the production of cat mummies ceased, and the great festivals that had drawn hundreds of thousands of pilgrims for over 2,000 years came to an end. The last dated inscription mentioning Bastet worship comes from the 4th century CE, after which the goddess who had been beloved for millennia faded from active religious practice, yet Bastet's legacy extends far beyond ancient Egypt. The special relationship between humans and cats, the understanding of cats as simultaneously independent and affectionate, fierce and gentle, mysterious and familiar. These insights that the Egyptians embodied in their goddess continue to shape how cultures around the world view and value cats. The image of the cat as a sacred animal worthy of respect and protection has echoed through history, influencing medieval European folklore, Islamic traditions that honored cats, and modern appreciation for felines as cherished companions. In contemporary times, Bastet has experienced a revival of interest driven by the popularity of Egyptian mythology in books, films, and games. Though modern depictions often oversimplify or misunderstand her complex nature and theological significance, she is sometimes reduced to merely a cute cat goddess, losing the depth of her associations with fertility, protection, music, joy, and the balance between gentleness and fierce maternal protection that made her so important to ancient Egyptians. True appreciation for Bastet requires understanding her complete character and the sophisticated religious thought she embodied. The enduring appeal of Bastet speaks to fundamental human needs that transcend time and culture: the need for protection of home and family, the importance of joy and celebration in human life, the value of music and art, and the special bond between humans and the animals who share our lives. These themes are as relevant today as they were 4,000 years ago when Egyptian families first welcomed cats into their homes and recognized in them the presence of the divine. This exploration of Bastet represents a collaboration between human research and creativity and artificial intelligence technology, bringing together traditional scholarship about ancient Egyptian religion with modern tools for visualizing and presenting these timeless stories. We hope this journey into the world of the cat goddess has deepened your appreciation for the complexity and beauty of Egyptian mythology. You can find links in the description to the resources and tools we use to create this content, as well as books and products that can help you explore Egyptian spirituality and the enduring legacy of humanity's relationship with cats.